Here we are in the 21st century. We've made progress as mankind. We've learned so many things. We've evolved, new discoveries. We're learning to ask questions. We play a great game and talk about tolerance and acceptance in the world. But really, what is it like out there? One of the topics that I wanted to talk about in this concern was, what is it like to be a gay individual in the world today? And because of the guests that I have, I'm focusing mainly on India in this conversation. India in 2018 decriminalized the act of sexual intercourse between people of the same sex. Even though it's definitely heading in the right direction and it's a great start, but in actual fact, all India did was decriminalize a lifestyle that has been part of our culture forever. And even though we've taken the step in the right direction to decriminalize it, what is it like being gay today? Can a gay person live a free life like the rest of us do? We find it very cool to say, I have a gay friend and I'm so tolerant of gay people and I accept them. But at the crust of it all in our DNA, are we really there? Are we really open-hearted? In our hearts, in our souls, and in our minds, have we really learned to accept every human being for who they are and what they represent? We seem to be more forgiving towards criminals and rapists and pedophiles than we are to beautiful human beings who just want to live their own life, just like you and me. And when I say like you and me, I mean the straight people in this world. Many people, and the worst of them all, are those who mask their hypocrisy behind a so-called religion, behind a so-called cultural belief, behind a so-called value system, where we put these man-made walls before the actual fact that we have got to learn to accept each other the way we are, respect our beliefs, our preferences. We might not agree with them, we might not relate to them, but we've got to learn to understand them and respect them for the sake of the other fellow human beings in our world. So today I have with me Akash Agarwal. He's a fashion designer, but more importantly, he's one of the greatest voices of the LGBT community in India. He has spoken at TED. He goes around influencing policy changes. He goes educating the police department and other educational institutions about the essence of understanding this wonderful community. He has worked with so many organizations and so many celebrities to try and raise an awareness for the acceptance and above all the respect of the LGBT community in India. I am very honored to have this wonderful person on my podcast today to talk about what it's like to be a gay person, what are his aspirations. I never had a narrative for this podcast. even though I knew that I wanted to do this. But when I was having an initial chat with him, he said to me, Tagore, if you wanted to adopt a child, will you be able to adopt a child? And I said, yeah, I think so. He said, then why can't I? And that was a trigger for me to say, oh my gosh, such a wonderful soul in the midst of all of us, and he can't adopt a child? Why? So we're going to talk about that a bit later on. So here I am with the ever wonderful, lovely Akash Agarwal. Hi, and welcome to my podcast, episode 2 of The Art of Humanity. And as I said in my introduction, today with me I have the immense pleasure to introduce and talk to a very special individual. I'm talking about Akash Agarwal. Hi Akash, say hello to my audience.
Hi everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be here and to have this conversation with you. Thank you.
So Akash, today we're talking about LGBT. What is it like to be a gay person in the world today, and especially in India? And I know that you've been doing a lot of work, including your Pride India initiative, and you've been talking to the police departments and other educational institutions, talking to people about this. You're trying to change the policies in the country as well, which is tremendous. And thank you on behalf of the rest of us. Even straight people like me, I'm saying thank you for encouraging and enforcing this change that is, well overdue. So before we get into the actual podcast, Akash, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what it is that you do? I know you're a fashion designer, having worked with some tremendous celebrities as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Thank you.
Absolutely, myself, Akash K. Agarwal. I'm an accessory designer. I am an LGBTQ rights activist. I'm a queer myself. And I am a TEDx speaker. And then I am different identities and not just one. So many people say, oh, you do different stuff. Why not just one? And I say, but I don't have planned like my life like that. I have not been someone who has very much decisively planned my life that I will do this. I led a very free flow life, and I'm into occult, I'm into mysticism, I'm into reading cards and numerology. I do all of that too. So I let myself go wherever I feel like, right? I'm not just fluid with my gender identity. I'm fluid as human as well, as much as I can. So that's what also is what Akash. And professionally, I'm into jewelry designing. I design jewelry. Other than that, passionately, I talk about the queer rights and queer issues. And between the two, I do all that I wish to do and love to do. And that's how I live by.
Great, Akash. And before I even come to my first question, there's something that you said here. I mean, you do what you want to do and you lived your life, right? Now, obviously, there's going to be millions of people out there who might not agree with all of it or even agree with one of it. But my point here is that this is your life and you have the right to live your life the way you want to live your life, based on the values that you believe in, perhaps that your family have given you, or whatever you want to embrace, as long as you're not causing harm to another individual. And that goes for either side of the fence, right? So I'm so glad that you actually said that. And the first thing that I would say to my younger audience as well, you've got to believe in the values that you believe in, maybe the values that have bestowed upon you by your family or what you think is right and so forth. Everything in this world are guidelines, and you need to be able to don't be a hypocrite. Embrace what you think you sincerely believe in. And hats off to you, Akash. So my first question to you.
I might just add with you this that I also am very much aware of my privilege to do what I do. I'm aware of being able to have that privilege with which I have options to live by.
Okay.
And that's why I know so many people who can't do what I can do just because they have some very different moral social responsibilities they live by. the kind of societal structure they are cocooned or being grasped into, caught into, that they cannot break that shell. So moving out, living yourself out loud proud is not easy, and is absolutely not welcomed by society morally.
So what gives you the privilege, Akash? Because I'm sure there's somebody out there saying,
So
"Oh, he's doing it
yeah,
because he's got the privilege."
I'm not seeing privilege of financial stability, or I'm not seeing privilege of industry I work in. I see the very privilege of acceptance, and that's a privilege too.
By the
In a
people around you and your loved
By the
ones.
people around you, isn't
Okay,
it? That's a privilege to be a queer and to live by.
of course,
That's the
absolutely.
biggest privilege. That's the biggest privilege I have. And I very much understand that privilege, and I very much work from that space where I sometimes feel guilty if I don't do what I should be doing at where I am. You know, I'm
Okay.
thankful to all the acceptance I have, but I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly.
Oh, nice one. Well said. Okay, so then let's get into the actual podcast. Then it's 2021. What's it like being a gay man?
I think it's in India. You have to understand. I don't know if you're asking me what is it like being gay to me, because we as India and Indians, our life stories are not same. A Delhi guy is living in 2021, but you go to a NCR village and you'll see that the life there is still that 1990s. The electricity is yet to come. The network data network is yet to come. The whole podcast idea is not even there, right? So India is not just that the whole country is evolving together. We
That's
all
fine,
are.
but
Yeah.
what's it like for you to be living as a gay man in 2021?
I think nothing much has changed except the fact that I have become much vocal, and that's because of the kind of judgment we got in 2018. But what India, but I'm telling you, we cannot see a gay identity from my prism, because the fact is this, that people like me who were able to break out, we were able to access much more in life, because we came out of the closet with more of self acceptance. But what about India of 2021 for those queer people who are closeted, suffocating, even in sitting in a metropolitan city? Let me not go to villages, but there are my own friends who are still living in most high posh areas of Delhi in 2021, and they're still suffocating closeted gays.
But why are they suffering? Okay, so you're living in Delhi. Let's break this down. You're living in Delhi. You've come out, and and you're talking about it so openly. And then you've got some of your friends living in Delhi as well, who are still not coming out. What is the difference between you and those people? I
That's
mean,
what I said. That's what is the privilege of acceptance is all about.
okay, so fine. No, no, fair
Yeah,
enough. No, no, that's well said. So you've got the
yeah.
privilege that your loved ones around you have let you come out
Accepted me with
and have,
time,
and have accepted you. Okay,
yeah, and it's not been easy, but it has been fruitful, and they both are different, right?
yeah.
So I'm not saying that my family accepted me who open-heartedly, and they were like excited double, and there was like a Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum title song playing that. No, it was full of
Yeah.
drama. It was not just a happy ending Bollywood movie, but I was able to bring in communication and dialogue instead of debate
Okay.
at all.
So to my non-Indian audience, Kabhi Kushi Kabhi Gum was a film that was made many years ago, which was overly mushy, and talked about the values of families and the bondness between families. So yeah, let's not get there. So okay, Akash, thank you for that. But you made a point just a minute ago that in 2018, India, passed on a bill, that allowed
We scrapped
that.
Section 377. Yeah.
Correct. I mean, I know that a lot of gay men look at it and say, yeah, fair enough, but all they've done is decriminalize the act, but I say it's definitely a step in the right direction. Let's not discard that. What's your take about what happened in 2018, and how has that changed for the better or the worse the LGBT movement?
I completely can sense to what they are saying, that what a big deal about it. And but I still remember early 2000s, 2001, 2, 3, while something like this was a far fetch to happen. Like, we could have not even imagined that we will scrap it. You know, after 2009 judgment of Delhi High Court, where we were given acceptance, and then in 2013 it was scrapped. That Delhi High Court judgment was scrapped by the Supreme Court in 2013. We were almost shattered, and we thought there'll be no nothing coming further. So yeah, it's I wholeheartedly thank the Supreme Court for the judgment, but I also say that all these voices of dissent or disagreement or dissatisfied voices are those voices which are still seeking equal rights. Because when the Justice Indu Malhotra says that history owes an apology, and if that apology is just decriminalizing the identity but not giving them equal human Indian citizenship rights, then somewhere the apology is half hearted, or if I may dare to say, it's manipulative.
Okay, Akash, I do understand the sentiment where you're coming from, but the fact of the matter is that the institution of India has now passed on that bill in 2018, and that's a reality. Okay, so having that bill passed in 2018, okay, it hasn't changed things for you in terms of rights for housing and other things. So tell us a little bit about that. What is still lacking in terms of you just being another human being of Indian citizenship, for example?
I might say this, that I remember in 2016-17, when my queer friends started flying out. And I never had that opportunity or that thought to even move out and fly out because of who I am. And they were very much ready to be second class citizens, which I never was.
Okay.
But what I am today is equally a second class citizen in this country as well.
What makes you say
Yeah.
that, Akash?
What makes me say that is the fact that my and any Indians' rights are not equal. Our rights are differentiated. If Akash uses to tick a men in the box, or a he, or a male, then he has equal opportunities. But if this Akash wants to express his real gender identity, he will lose his right to adopt. He will lose his right to have financial securities. He will lose his right on many medical and health infrastructure opportunities. So there are, and we cannot even get married. It's not even legal yet, right? And it's one of the most biggest myth which my friends who are not queer says that, and even the young queer who have no idea, and they say that, oh wow, now so we can get married because Supreme Court has accepted us. But we have not got those rights. We still have a long way, and we are every day resisting towards it. There are a lot of court cases which are pending to be heard on this, that we are seeking for equal rights, such as right to marry. So when we don't have these equal rights, which are very basic rights: health infrastructure, financial securities, right to adopt, right to marry, right to inheritance, then aren't we second class? And am I wrong?
No, Akash, you're not wrong. But I'm asking you these questions because obviously I think a lot of my listeners do not understand, the depths
Absolutely,
of these conversations. But
yeah.
here's the thing, right? So, I'm going to come to adoption in a little while, because that's really what triggered of this conversation with you. Like housing, for example, you say you do not have the right to certain housing programs. that's not a problem with the judicial system. It's not a problem with, it's the people probably with the entities who are responsible for the housing. It's maybe you come to me and say, hi, Tibur, I want to buy your house. And if I say that, hey, Akash, I don't want to sell you my house because you're gay, that's a
Yeah.
that's a cock up on my side. It's not to
I
do.
I'm not I have not got housing while having a conversation with you. I have not even, but see, where the judiciary comes in is limiting itself to not to put forward a open heart and say, okay, let's give them rights as well, wherever they've been abolished to. Okay, but other than that, housing is absolutely is a very societal issue. It's more
Correct.
of a societal issue, and that housing issue can be as a societal issue as to a young boy or a young girl who wants to take a flat in Bombay or Delhi, or a individual from a minority community wants to live in a majority area, and those
Correct.
are societal issues.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, correct. No, I just wanted to draw the line there because some of these
yeah.
issues, the rights you're talking about, are to do actually with mankind and society and the DNA of society rather than anything else. You know?
No, no, they are absolutely institutional issues. They're not societal issues. As you know me, I have no issues with the society, and I have a lot of issues with institutions. So if
Okay.
institutions fail to play their part, that's a issue. Society is being taking its own time, and that's like look, we have Dowry Act, we have Bribe Act, we have corruption laws, we have so many laws in this country to take care of society, but that is where we fail back to back.
Okay. No, fair enough. Okay. So, as you said earlier on as well, and I'm very aware of this, a lot of LGBT people in India still have the fear to come out of the closet. Yeah. There is a huge struggle. There are huge challenges. There is an uncertainty about what's going to happen when they come out of that. And is that really to do with our society itself? Is it to do with our religion, our culture? What do you think is a bottleneck here?
There are multiple issues. I remember while I was a little more young and I was an activist at heart and passionate activist who used to expect everybody to come out and own their identity, and that is how I did. I started owning my identity because I thought it's my absolute responsibility and nothing else. But what to own up to? What have I achieved post announcing that who I am? More shame given by society, more abuse, more discrimination, more phobia. What have we given to these individuals who got the courage or belief that they will be able to live without stigmatization of their identity,
Let me
but
ask you
which
that.
never.
What have you got after having come out?
All of it, it's a package. It's quite a package.
So you've got more shame and more discrimination and
I've got all of it, I think, but I've moved out of it. Yeah.
okay.
And that's the part of the life, once you dare to come out, you come out every day, not once.
So coming out, Akash, what are the
Coming out
challenges?
is an everyday process.
Well
Coming
said.
out is everyday while I'm talking to you is nothing but coming out as well here and now.
Absolutely.
While I'm going out in a restaurant and having a dinner with my family, and somewhere on the other table, a couple feels uncomfortable or feel to ridicule me, I'm coming out for them then. And that first time experience from them to me is equally can be can put me in a very vulnerable space as anybody else
Yeah.
might would have it first time. So that process of coming out is every day and can be every moment.
That's so sad, Akash. I mean, imagine you having to relive that moment of your life every single day just because you're being brave. I mean, that's really sad.
It's just like telling yourself, that whole idea of self love ka to itna, high dose लेकर चलना पड़ता है.
Yeah.
Or for how long can you self love if you know see nobody else loving you, right? So it's also very demoralizing, and still you have to push it because you believed in speaking out and standing by truth. It's very traumatic to even come out.
No, but I also see it I see it in another way. You're a fellow human being like I am, Akash. I'm straight, you're gay,
Uh,
and this world
uh,
belongs to you as much as it belongs to me. So if I have a
uh,
right to go to a restaurant and sit down, and as long I'm not disrupting the ambience of the place,
yeah,
I don't see why I have the right
yeah.
to be able to go into a restaurant and enjoy my time there, and you can't. So that's, I think, one of the things that we have to fundamentally look at ourselves and ask ourselves that question. You know.
But are we asking that question? I
No,
might
that's the
ask.
problem, Akash. We don't.
Right.
Here's the thing. I remember, and I used to live in London. In the late '80s, right? And many people used to want to say like, "Oh, I have a black friend," okay, because it came across as being cool. And if you notice that, a lot of people say, "Oh, I have a gay friend." They don't understand the implication of and the sensitivity that this individual is going through to be gay and to come out and say I'm gay, but they want to use it as an accessory, like a fashion accessory. Oh, I know a gay friend, which is again completely wrong. But coming to my next question, and I'm going to hit it right. I'm going to hit the nail right on the head. What would you say to anybody out there listening who's gay and wants to come out? What would you say are the do's, the don'ts? Be careful of.
Do's is fact check of who you are.
How do you do that?
And
I mean, here's an individual who might be
you
completely
are,
lost. He might be
you
completely
know, if,
uncertain
if
about the whole
if
thing.
this would have been my question 10 years back, well, there was no YouTube, Instagram, social media where I could have looked up to a gay identity and said, I'm so and so. But now we have a lot of references with us and a lot of content online. So, fact check who you are, take your time with yourself.
Well said.
Don't be in a hurry to announce your sexuality,
Yeah.
because the day you'll announce it, you'll be in a very vulnerable space and position. This is, I feel vulnerable often. I feel endangered often. The very idea for a society or for a criminal mind to just think you that you're nothing but a feminine being can put you into a lot of vulnerability. For us to come out, we are equally being putting ourselves under a lot of scrutiny, a lot of phobia, a lot of threat, and a lot of danger situations around us. To them, I will say, see, it's very easy for me to say that, oh, come out and be yourself. But we have to also understand the kind of atmosphere we have at home, the kind of atmosphere I am providing at home. That if I am phobic to other things, how would people be not phobic to homophobia?
Yeah.
They'll be not phobic to homosexuality, right? So if my drawing room conversation is Islamophobic, is xenophobic, is sexist, is misogynistic, is patriarchal, and in that drawing room conversation, I am going to push in my agenda of being a homosexual, and do you think that drawing room members would accept it? Or would I have to start a conversation where I will start speaking of better equal human rights and space for everyone to live? And
Correct.
then one fine day, I push my own agenda while I think things are already settled down.
So basically, don't rush into it. Take your
Be the
time.
change you wish to be. No, be the change you wish to see.
Be the change you
Don't
wish to see.
expect the world falls onto you when you want it to be. You have to work a lot towards it, and you have to work towards. See, I got my acceptance not because I was very much accepted of who I am as gay, but I was accepted of who I am as a person, as an individual. And
Wow.
that individual is humanist. And I'm not self complimenting myself, but I'm saying these are my traits, that I'm a humanist, I'm a outspoken liberal, blahs and blues, and many more. And that might add me pushing the envelope further and let them know I'm homosexual as well. But if you want to stay in the cocoon of how the society wants you to live like, and if you want to be a part or a puppet into that, and suddenly one fine day you realize, okay, now I want to talk about me being gay, it would be difficult.
Okay.
Yeah. So think over what how the family is. Who are the right people? Do you have parents who will support you? Do you have siblings who will support you? Are you supporting your sibling in his any time? That then you expect a support out of your child. Yeah. So if your own sibling is going through some other issue, and you have been the one uh, putting a lot of taboos and stigmatizing that individual because of might be a skin color, and suddenly now you want to talk about your gender acceptance to that same sibling who you have been scrutinizing for the skin color or for the height or for the body type, right? How would that other person be accepting of you? None, nothing, right?
Wow. Yeah. So basically, be the change that you want to see. Correct.
Yeah.
That's really well said. Akash, that brings me to my next question automatically. There, what is the role of family and friends in a situation like this?
It's important. It's important, and it's the role of family will decide the role of society around you, and I completely believe this.
Hmm.
The role of friends would also be the byproduct of the kind of life you will have. So, friends are the people we meet on the journey, at a status, at a stature, at a time in place, at the job or at a workplace or at school. We meet friends, but we are born with families to begin with. So the initial support is family. They cannot be replaced. Friends can be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like we are born with having Pakistan, China, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Nepal around us, and that's our destiny, or that's our. We cannot change them, right?
No. 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 No.
We cannot. We might can change our friendship with America or with Russia, but we cannot change our region.
And these countries you mentioned are our neighbors. They are our extended
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
No.
We are all South Asian families. We still have same cultures. So the family unity or acceptance matters a lot. Their love and acceptance and confidence with you matters a lot. You know, my friends used to say me that Akash, you're very courageous that you come out and talk about you being gay. And I used to tell them that trust me, it's not my courage, but it's my family's courage to stand by me. What I'm doing is I'm just standing by to who I am, but what they're doing is to standing by to me who they even might don't know what it feels like to be.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So Akash, look, we've talked about the individual person being sure about themselves, being the change. We've talked about the role of families. Let's just extend it a little bit more now to society. What is the
Yeah.
role of society now in this whole thing? I mean, be it schools, institutions, clubs, workplaces, workplaces of worship, whatever it may be.
So for me, society is your neighborhood, your workplace, your everyday, or people around your life is your society, or to
Yeah.
where you live, and they can be changed according to your own life decisions and your life acceptance and expectations out of your life. That
Do you think
society
so,
can.
Akash? I mean, do you think that society can be changed that easily?
You can change your own society. You can change with people you like to live to wish. There's no compulsion to live with homophobic people.
Correct.
There is, and I'm not going. There is a issue that you are at a job place, you cannot have the other job,
Yeah.
and your boss is homophobic or your boss is misogynistic, sexist, leechy, and you're someone or some colleague or some clerk in the institution is like that. That all can be issues, but they all can be manageable once you know how to self accept and deal with it.
Wow. Okay.
The only reason I was able to accept this society was that I was able to role reverse myself and say that I'm not seeking acceptance.
Okay.
I am going to accept this society as one misogynistic, patriarchal, sexist, casteist, classist society, and these are the issues we live with. Now, what to do? To complain it or to work towards healing it? And I chose myself of taking away any right to from them of accepting me. But I accepted this society as it is for my better peace.
Wow. Okay. Um, Before I go on to my next question, Akash, tell us a little bit about the legal protections towards the LGBT community. So, I mean, we're talking about individual friends, society, workplace, and you're still going to have those assholes who are homophobia, those who want to
Right.
bully you and whatever. So, what is the
Yeah.
legal protection here in situations like
I
this?
don't see any legal protection. I
Really?
when I Yeah, I don't see any specific legal protections to queer individuals. I see people in power being sensitive and being non-sensitive. I see police institutions being rigid, and then individuals at the station can be sensitive or insensitive. So the whole structure is very biased and very individual experienced based phenomena. So it's not that our structure is very pro queer community or very pro towards such issues, and they will take quick actions and all and all and all. Because so many times a queer individual, when goes for any complaint of harassment, of abuse, they're being judged for who they are, you know. So it's
Even with the
almost,
fact that this was decriminalized,
how does it matter?
well, it should matter, Akash.
How does it matter? How does it
No,
matter? Because you have to understand, we are really screwed up at police sensitizations. Our police reforms are at worst of its times.
but you
We
have been
had
but you have been doing a lot of work with the police in trying to educate them.
Yeah, but then I might be not working with every police station.
No, that's true.
True. I am working with police academies where the educated IPS officers come and we discuss issues and everything. But the end of the day, the SI, the sub inspector, or the Tulla, or what do you say?
The
Uh,
constable. Yeah.
Constable. Yeah. Are they sensitized for it? Are they ready for it? Are they not going to judge you for who you are? When a woman is being asked even today in India that आप कहाँ गए थे जो आपके साथ ये हुआ ये बताओ. So to talk about a queer
Where had you
identity,
gone that such a thing happened to you? Okay.
yeah, right.
So basically, the legal protection is you're saying, according to you, is like close to non-existent.
None.
Okay, that's a shame. But anyway, I think I'll come to that in a minute, Akash.
The legal protection comes just out of a will of a police officer. If he wills, there is everything in place. But if that is not there, you cannot do anything about it.
But I guess that's the same with LGBT cases and non-LGBT cases as well. It's always depending on who the police person that you're talking to is on duty. Okay, fair enough. So Akash, look, let's come back to this whole thing now about adoption. We talked about this very briefly the last time we spoke. What is the issue with you, Akash, wanting to adopt a child in India today?
I don't have those rights. I've been barred from surrogacy laws or from adoption laws. You as queer cannot just do that. It's that simple and straight.
And that's a legal thing in India, is it?
That's a legal thing in India.
So that's one thing that needs to change, because I was having
it's
a talk.
It's very freshly done, actually. So as far as I remember, it's done somewhere in 2017 or 18, some 17, if I'm not that wrong, or 16, 17. It was a law passed in the parliament. The then minister Sushma Swaraj was the one even who chaired this idea of saying that I don't think so. Individuals should be given the space of adoption or surrogacy.
Individuals, okay, fine. So that's the law. The law is that individuals cannot have the right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if India were to legalize gay marriages, then you would be entitled to adopt.
No, not till they don't put it into their law. So there's no automatic way. There has to be a direction from the Supreme Court in the judgment to different hierarchies.
Okay, but if they legalize same-sex marriages, then you are technically considered to be a couple, and couples can adopt children, isn't it so?
Yeah. If they believe so, you know how documentations are. Is quite a mess in our system.
Okay, right. So let's keep our fingers crossed, because I actually do believe that, you know, any child who has been abandoned for whatever reasons has the right to have a family, whether it's, you know, a loving family, to put a roof over their head, to give them love and give them the opportunity to grow.
You know, there is a very sick idea behind banning queer individuals from adoption. Is this that they've been thought behind it that उन्होंने तो कभी घरों में ये रहे नहीं, ये क्या घर बच्चे को घर देंगे?
Sorry, can you just translate that into English for my audience?
So it's almost like, because these queer individuals have been homeless, how would be they able to provide a home to a child? It's that sickening. It's that sickening a thought.
Right. Okay. I have a strong comment on that. I hope I don't upset people when I say this, but you know, many kids are homeless because the so-called straight couples have had an encounter and then abandoned their child for whatever reason it may be, and then comes along a gay individual or queer and who wants to give that child a home and love. I mean, you know, how can we actually even deny that right? Okay, Akash, let's move on from something like that. Let's come to our cinema in India. And I talk about this because cinema is a huge part of our cultural DNA. How has cinema done anything good or worsen the LGBT mindset in India?
It has done good, bad, ugly, all.
Okay, let's elaborate a bit on that. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Good done by people like Honor.
Yep.
People like Ritwana Ghosh, people like Faraz Arif Ansari, who are making independent cinemas which have queer stories, and these queer stories are queer human stories which are beyond just coming out and being queer. You know, it's not over romanticizing the idea of you being gay, but it is about normalizing you as gay. Bad cinema is amply available, which is done by Bollywood mainstream, such as Mala Ladla Bigad Gaya, or some other, you know, stereotyping an effeminate gay identity and ridiculing them and putting them in almost like a prop.
Yeah. And it's often to mock them in the name of comedy.
Yeah, just to ridicule their identity.
Yeah, correct.
And the ugly is fantasizing of what is it all about being gay, right? When adultery becomes the part of queer identity, when moral structures, you know, lenses are put through to see simple intercourses because you want to bring in shame of being gay. So those ugly cinemas are very much being in the part of the world we live in. So good, bad, ugly, all people have done all what they could contribute to make the larger umbrella more colorful, I might say. But cinema of good cinema such as Deepa Mehta's Nandita Das, Shabana Azmi's Fire, or Oni's My Brother Nikhil, yeah, or Sisak by Faraz Arfansari. These cinemas are like almost watching watched by people who support this identity and this idea. So the consumer for such content is very limited. Also, because the promotions of such movies are limited because these movies are backed by small independent filmmakers.
Correct.
Right. So even if Onir wants to celebrate queer identity to its best, but if doesn't have a big budget like Zoya Akhtar, who makes Amazon Prime hit, right? Made in Heaven, where she talks about queer identity. So people who have that budget are very limited people because not everybody is trusting to queer subjects. Not everybody wants to put their money onto it. And those people who are trying their best to talk about such issues fails to bring back the money they invested into that movie sometimes as well. And for them, later projects get stalled because of it.
Correct. Correct.
So it's a very complex issue.
Okay, correct. And do you think, though, to can't always blame the devil, I guess, but if mainstream Bollywood were to make a fairly better representation of the LGBT community, do you think our Indian masses will be acceptable to it?
I'm very sure about it. I'm very sure about it because our Indian masses accepts item songs very easily, right?
Yeah, but that's because a different sort of perversion, though. I mean,
no, but I'm saying because we just put it through their throat. We don't even try to puke it out, right? The Indian society even suck it up to that also. So if you give them good cinema, why would they not? If you try giving them honest cinema, why would they not accept it if they can just take to whatever you give them on cinema? I don't want to judge Indian viewers because they're equally looking forward for good content, and that's why you do not have now that kind of stories. You have different stories like all these new Ayushmann Khurranas, Rajkumar Raos, these young boys, Vidya Balan, Bhumi Pednekar, Tapsi Pannu. The kind of stories these actors are doing is very regional and very Indian. They're completely different indie movies, but they are.
They're still commercial films, correct? Well said, absolutely. Yeah. So the thing is that I think another topic I want to talk about, India has always been, and I hope it still is, looked upon as a spiritual destination by many people outside of India. How is the Indian spirituality, Indian religions being accepted towards LGBT people?
I don't know. I cannot comment on other religions except Hinduism because they still have a lot of rigid atmosphere around them. Yeah. And also their religion is not very open to talk about it as well. There's no enough evidence to talk about acceptance of the community by other religions, and I'm not judging them by saying that. But for Hinduism, there's Ardhanareshwar, there is Mohini Rupa, there is a Shikhandi Rupa, there is a Brahmanalala Rupa. There's so many different variations of Vishnu's transforming into a woman or a woman transforming into a man. A Durga developing into Mahishasur Mardani and, taking... So, and exchanging and balancing of yin and yang and a male and a female energies is a part of Hinduism. So, even while the right wing or the phobic right wing tried to manipulate, they couldn't win it because there was just too much for them to hide under the table. Yeah? So,
and some of our temples actually have imagery of
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. We are the land of Kama Sutra. We are the land of Khajuraho. We are the land of what not.
Why did it get criminalized and when? And by who?
Yeah. So we got criminalized in 1860. Well, there are a lot of things criminalized by Britishers. And this was the time while Britishers were unable to handle the diversity of India and all what they were unable to understand from their British concept, which is very colonial and Christian. They were unable to understand India with its diversity and pluralism. So, because Britishers had Christian colonial law and they wanted to look India with that lens as well, they were unable to look the diversity. They were unable to accept so whatever they were unable to soak in or handle well, they just said it is supposed to be criminal. And that also, and that also what they did to the Kathak performers or the dancers of UP, Awadh, Banaras, all the dance families, the gharanas were banned as well at that time because they were unable to handle it, that cultural diversity.
So, Akash, coming towards the end of our chat, talk to me about India Pride, this initiative that we've got on at the moment.
Yeah. So Pride India is all
Pride
about
India.
feeling. Yeah. Pride India is all about feeling proud about you being an Indian and queer both. And both of your identity is equal. None is 40-60. It's 50-50 or it's 100-100.
Okay.
So you can be a queer and you can be Indian and you should be proud about both of them. But what are you doing by being just proud about it? Are you contributing towards the pride community, towards the queer community, and bringing in an impact on an Indian society is what we look through. So we work towards gender sensitizations in schools and colleges, in educational institutions. We also go to corporate structures and talk about them gender diversity, and talking about diversity over neutrality is my idea of Pride India. My idea of Pride India is to talk about more about equity over equality, and that's what is Pride India all about.
And how are you doing that, Akash? I mean, I know you talked about corporate stuff and all, but for example, if someone's listening to it right now and says, "Oh, you know what? This would be something great that I would like to bring to my workplace," how do they go about doing this?
So we do multiple sessions. We have different session programs for corporates, for police reforms, for educational institutes, and they are from 5 sessions to 15 sessions, depends upon how and what kind of encouragement comes from the institution. So we do that. We try to connect the heterosexual society with the queer community. We try create events where they both can come together and there can be less of awkwardness of you facing them out of the sudden. So even you want to face someone first time, it actually is a very therapeutic thing. I've seen people breaking down to just while they hug or handshake to a queer person. There's so much guilt or shame or suffocation attached to heterosexual people or the lifestyle they have been forced to live that they feel very free to even meet an individual who's living out loud proud.
So Akash, okay, one last thing I want to ask you. I know we're not. So I've come across people who've been in marriages for 10, 15, 20 years. They've got kids, and all of a sudden one fine day they get up and they say, "You know what? I'm gay." Yeah. And there's one side of the story that they're discovering who they are, but second story, they're walking out of a commitment that they've been into, like to the spouse, to the kids, and so forth. Just very quickly, what's your take on that?
Multiple takes on that, because you have to. Every story and every reaction would be different of mine on every situation.
Okay.
So an individual who's those individuals who are queer and getting married now because of the parental pressures, I have huge issues with them.
Okay.
Because Now we have scrapped Section 377. Now we who have legal things, legal rights for coexist without being considered criminal. But all those individuals might be from your generations or from my generations who were pressurized to get married, had no other option but to live by how what they thought is to be lived like. I have no grudges to them. I have more grudges to that social structure which push them to it. To them to break in after 15 years, 10 years, 20 years of their marriage, and people see is ye to pagal ho gaya, he's gone mad, or getting irresponsible. It's actually he got the courage that then day. It's
Yeah,
his day of coming out.
yeah,
It was enough for him to take it. So instead of judging him for him, we have to give him an acceptance, and which is a very organic process. It cannot be gifted
yeah,
or bought. It has to be, organically, uh, cultivated. So I don't judge people who were pressurized to get married. I feel very sorry for those individuals, whether it was a gay husband or a lesbian wife. Imagine for a lesbian wife, we can just take 5 minutes onto this topic. Imagine a gay guy who's got being married under the pressure. Okay? That guy on the day one on the bed can say to that woman, I don't wish to have sex with you. Good night. Because there comes his privilege and patriarchal mindset. Gives him that privilege to access that space of disowning the wife on the very first day. Can a lesbian woman have that space with a straight heterosexual man on the bed? What trauma would that woman go through every day onto the bed? She's absolutely nothing else but raped in and out, traumatized, abused, scarred for life, because that woman has no agency to her body or to her mind or soul. She cannot even come out and say, I don't want to have sex with you. That's not even her privilege.
and it all comes down to love, I guess. Akash, the last question for the podcast then. What's your take on love, buddy?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It heals you. It is.
The first gay person that I ever had the honor to meet was when I was in London back in 91. I was attending film school. And London was still fairly new to acceptance towards gay people in those days.
Yeah.
And he came into school one day completely beaten up and everything. And it was because he was in a pub and he was with his boyfriend and he got beaten up in the pub. And that was the first time. The next day he told me, he said, Tagore, he said, I'm gay. And it never struck me that he was gay until then. And that was the first time I'd actually met somebody who had openly said to me that they were gay. And all Warwick got beaten up about was because he was in love with another man, But the great thing is that people will always have the need to be in love, to be loved. And none of us have the right to judge that or to tell them how they should be loved and by who they should be loved. No, true. So Akash,
only the loveless ones can dictate what love is. People in love cannot.
No, seriously. So thank you so much for talking to me. I just want to say, being a straight man, I just want to say that, there's a certain amount of an apology that comes from my side of the fence, but I think a big message here is that you guys have always accepted who I am, and it's time that we all came up and said, accept you for who you are, you've respected me, and it's time we learn to respect you. Yeah, absolutely. We've got to live in harmony. We've got to live together in love, understanding, and together we have to coexist, because there's nothing different about us. We are all made of flesh and bones. We all have the same aspirations of love, of life, and everything else. So hats off to you, my dear friend Akash. Thank you for everything that you are doing for the LGBT community. And I just hope that more and more people will embrace this, learn to respect it, and and learn to live in a beautiful way with each other.
Thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you for talking about things that we should be talking about. Thank you for giving space to queer identity, and that all matters to me a lot. Thank you so much.
Akash, you're a rock star. You're a real rock star, and I mean that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.